The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and/or Paranormal Buzz Radio and/or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Paranormal Stance, a bi-weekly show where we discuss and debate all topics of the paranormal, anything from hauntings, locations, and even tech. Please join us in chat and feel free to share your stance on the paranormal.
And we're back. Finally, we're getting some results here. Now you should be able to hear us for the people in chat.
Welcome to the Paranormal Stance.
Yeah, welcome. I'm John.
And I'm Cindy.
So, I don't know what the hell happened.
Who knows? You gotta love technology, right?
Yeah.
Well, so tonight, our discussion. Hello, Darren.
You can hear us now, Darren, right?
Oh, we gotcha.
I don't know what happened. This record app is really weird sometimes.
It's a tricky thing.
If you leave it up too long, it freezes on you. If you change anything, you have to exit out of it and reopen it again. It's really, really weird.
But we're here. We are back. So.
Okay. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say. Let's get on with this business.
All right, so we're going to talk about location history and research, and that goes along with any paranormal investigating you do, whether it's your favorite haunt or if it's a residential or anything.
Yeah, absolutely anything. A haunted forest.
Yeah.
You need to do your research, people. We're going to really, really stress the importance of researching your locations. It's a huge thing. It's to me, you can't really do an effective investigation if you haven't done research first.
Well, I mean, you can do an investigation, but wouldn't it be nice to know the people before you go in? Just like going into somebody's home.
Right.
You'd like to know them first. Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is John. What's your name? And get to know them, So that's what you got to do when you're doing history and on a location and your research on a location is you're getting to know the location, the people that were involved in it, who and when they died, what they died from, if, other people that have owned the location that you can talk to or see if they have had any paranormal. It just the list goes on and on and on and on.
You really need to connect the dots before you even go into walk in to do a physical investigation or any sort of preliminary. It's not only important and for a really effective investigation, it also is a smart thing to do because you're armed with knowledge. And that goes a long way.
Right.
It can answer questions that you have.
Right.
Before you even walk in.
Right. Darren says some people like to go on cold, and that's fine. But as long as somebody on your team at least knows something about it. What's up, Shay? What's up, Darren?
Shay.
It's somebody on the team has got to know something about the place. If everybody else wants to go in cold, that's fine. But I think, at least in my opinion, somebody should know something about the place.
Well, I mean, just like us, and we speak about the place that we go quite often, and it's the Chastain House over here in Fannin County in Georgia. We have been more effective in knowing the history of the place because there was so much hoo-ha about the place.
Yep.
And we've gone into it before, an orphanage, a battlefield hospital, an insane asylum.
This goes on.
And slaves were murdered and children were murdered. And the man of the house was a crazy killer because the witch from up the street had beguiled him, and just stuff like that. If we had not done our research, we would not be where we're at right now because we would be believing what everybody else believes.
Right.
And I think that it has furthered our investigation, and it has actually helped us as far as evidence because we know how to address what we're dealing with. We know how to approach, the place because we know the history and we know the facts. We're not going into this house, calling out murderers and saying, negative things, which me, I don't do that anyway. But
She just calls me negative things.
you're silly.
See?
I don't either. That's negative. You're silly.
It's about as negative as you get.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'd say you're right. But I'm the same way when I investigate. I'm a little bit different in the way I do things. And it's just important I feel like, going in cold. There are situations I understand, and I can understand there are situations where maybe you'd want to, because you don't want to put ideas into people's heads. But on the other hand, if you're addressing spirit and you have assumed ideas, as far as like things that aren't fact, how are you going to address it?
So we're going to give you a perfect example tonight of one of our favorite places to go every weekend. Every weekend. Mainly it's to go down and make sure the caretaker is okay.
Yeah.
He's 65 years old. He gets overwhelmed with people every night that try to go in the house. And so we go down there and we give him a hand. We'll give you a hand with the people, take tours with them, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, just back them up.
So the Chastain house, like Cindy said, it was an orphanage, it was a battlefield hospital, it was an insane asylum. Supposedly. Occult work was done there,
yes.
You name it, it was. So we go back and we do our research one day. We just could not let the house go one day. We just both woke up and we're like, we got to do some research.
Yeah.
And
we did. We had to.
So I started looking into the claims of the orphanage first. So the orphanage story is not false, but it's not true either. So what the claim is that it was an orphanage and children were killed there and tortured, you name it. They did all sorts of surgeries and stuff on them, like you would hear it on an insane asylum, or an asylum for that matter. And so we did our research, and we comes to find out there was actually a descendant that says it was supposed to be, but it was never an orphanage. The church did buy it.
Yeah.
And with the intention of making it a boys and girls home, but not one child stepped foot on the property.
Yeah, it was actually left in a trust for the church, or a Baptist church, and they were going to use it as a boys and girls home for disadvantaged children, but they never got that far.
Right. Not one child, not even for a picnic, stepped foot on the property.
No, they didn't. They maintained it to, for several years, but that was the extent of it.
Yeah.
So, there a false claim. So people have gone in there many, many times and called out these tortured children to try to get some response, and called, the doctor or the man of the house evil for torturing these kids, and it's completely false.
Right.
So what sort of evidence are you going to glean from that? What are you going to get if you go in this place and you're saying all these negative things? First of all, you're just pushing out that negative energy. Right. And secondly, these possible intelligent spirits, you're completely being disrespectful.
Yeah, it's like going into somebody's house and telling them that they're a pedophile and calling them an asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get any results.
No.
And if you do, they're not going to be good.
Well, they have no way to correct it or defend themselves. They, depending on what we don't know, how they receive it, but they can't be good. And not to mention, you go in doing this, and you're just going to spread this, to other people, to other things.
You're actually spreading negative energy.
You absolutely are. And to me, it's like, we as human beings should give each other the benefit of the doubt. And even in the law, you're innocent until proven guilty. Well, why is it in the paranormal field that everything is assumed to be something negative? So many people go in, well, this is evil and bad.
Right.
And
That's right, Darren.
But the vast majority of it's not. So you're approaching these people and causing them to be on the defensive.
So the next part of the story was, it was a battlefield hospital. Well, I'm going to tell you something. In Fannin County, down here in Georgia, northern Georgia, there were no battles fought in Fannin County.
Nope. Actually,
0.
Yeah, Fannin County used to be part of Union County, which is right beside us. And Union County, this whole area was full of Union sympathizers.
Yes, there was. The Stanleys were one of them.
Yankee lovers.
Yeah.
So, no, there were no battles fought in this
0.
area. No.
Were there soldiers in the area? Probably.
Yeah.
Were there any battles? No. 0 battles.
Nope.
So the next one is the insane asylum. No,
that one's even worse.
That's
There's
so for what you people, this is what I go through, and Shay and Darren, you may go through the same exact thing. You start looking up records. You go on what you can find online, and then you just keep looking until you find a chink in the armor where it says no. You get that one person that speaks up and says no. I used to be part of blah, blah, blah church. It was never that. That's what I ran into. It was actually a local person who was a part of the church that took over the Chastain house that came forward and says, yes, it was supposed to be, but it was never made into one. Yeah. So that was the chink in the armor that I was actually looking for. And when you do that, then you can go, you start looking, you take the address, you start looking at all the records, who owned it. Then you start looking up those people's names, and you try to find their death records, which you can, it's public knowledge, and yes, you can go find it. So we ended up finding all of that, who owned it, when they owned it, how much they paid for it, how big the land is, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And the father never killed the mother. So that's one story. That Mr. Chastain killed Mrs. Chastain. Never happened. And I'm going to tell you where all these stories stem from towards the end of this. And it's going to blow your mind because you're going to be like, what? Mm-hmm. Some of you may be surprised. Some of you may not be surprised. But what was the other thing? Killed all the children? No, that never happened.
Children,
there was an evil doctor there?
Yeah.
No, that never happened. There was a doctor there, but it never happened.
The timelines don't even match on that.
Because between Alice dying and the doctor being born, there was at least 10 years before the doctor was even born.
Exactly.
So that never happened.
That several of the children died young.
Never happened.
They had 8 children. Only 2 died prematurely. One was 10 and one was 23. And everybody else lived to be around old age.
23? Junius?
William.
William, okay.
So, and then you look at their family and you just keep extending out from there because you never know when you're going to get a name. And if you get a name when you're investigating, it's really great to be able to take that and go back and say, hey, this actually matches up. Like this matches up with this or that. I mean, it's been, to me, I think to us, it's been really invaluable as far as this goes. Yeah. So, I mean, there are so many things, that the disadvantaged boy lived there, and
it never happened.
We found no record
that we know of. We still don't know everything. We probably only know 75%.
Right. Like we still have a lot to look up, but we have found out so much. We have found out more than most people who have gone there several years, or even the people that own it.
Right.
We know
I think we know more than the judge knows.
I know, and we know more than the caretaker.
Yeah.
And he received it really well, though.
Yeah, he did receive it really well. He even got to the point that on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, I take people in the house and tell them the right story.
You do. We do. We and that's another good thing, is we're able to let people know the facts. And I think that has helped us in getting evidence.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because I think that, Oops.
The bad phone.
It is. I think that if I was an intelligence spirit, that would make me much more receptive. If you're telling my actual history and not some hogwash.
Right. So now that you kind of know what we've been dealing with, as far as the Chastain house goes. Now to tell you the right story. So we've gone through and found out that yes, it was supposed to be an orphanage, but it never happened. Mr. and Mrs. Chastain were actually very nice people. They were involved in their community. They were also involved in the church, heavily involved in the church. Doesn't make them nice people, but they were heavily involved in the church. And usually when you hear that, you're like, oh, these were nice people. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. No. That was just some of the history that we found. They had, how many kids? 8?
8 kids.
And I can only probably remember 4 or 5. So, anyways, as time goes on, they got married, and their father, David Rogers, Mary Ann's father, gave them a slave for their wedding present. Yes. And now, whether Mary Ann knew it or not, that was her half brother.
Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, that's kind of a cool little point to know.
So she received Isom,
yeah,
to come and move from North Carolina to Georgia with her when her and Jason were married. They were married on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And so they came here with Isom, and Isom and her shared the same father.
Yeah.
So David was Isom's father, and he gave his daughter the gift of her brother for a wedding gift.
And so, like I was telling you, Mr. and Mrs. Chastain.
And this was in 1941, by the way.
No, 1841.
I'm sorry, 1841.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Chastain were such nice people that they actually went back to North Carolina to get the love of Isom's life and brought her back.
Yes.
Isom and Harriet both had children. They treated them very well, George and Harriet. So George and Harriet were Mary Ann's niece and nephew.
Yep.
Okay, this is cool. If you ask me,
yeah, it is. This is the actual history.
So, yeah, and you would actually think, wow, this is crazy for down south. There are some racist mofo. Actually, that wasn't I'm finding that out as I live down here.
Right.
That wasn't the case. They weren't racist down here. Yeah, there were some racist people, yes.
But that's everywhere.
But they were not for enslaving blacks. That's just how history portrays it right now.
Yeah, it is, and it's really not a fact. I mean, Isom himself was biracial.
Yeah, he was half and half.
But his kids were still raised, at the Chastain house with John and Mary Ann, the Chastain's children, and they grew up with them. And Jason. Yes, Jason. Sorry, I'm looking over at you.
John is actually Jason's father.
So,
So, as time goes on, Alice, the 10-year-old, dies. Let's move forward. So, we're not sure what she died from, but we're either thinking, because it was that era, it was either tuberculosis or the scarlet fever.
Yeah.
One of the two.
And we've heard a couple of things, but I really feel like it was tuberculosis. I really feel like it was TB.
So, and the funny thing is we actually have EVPs in the house from somebody coughing. Mm-hmm. I brought my stepdaughter in there, and she did a solo EVP session while I was just outside the door, because I don't leave anybody too far from me. And she was in there I was about 100 yards away with the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, you were.
Talking to the caretaker at the barn. The year she died was 1862.
Yes. And she was born 1852.
That's right. And I had called. We had actually brought the dog to see what would happen. I called her on the radio and, said everything's okay. And she started talking, and there was a cough in the background. Mm-hmm. So, as time went on, she had died. So, anyways, there was a location on the property that Alice used to like to play on, and it was up on a hill, but set probably a good 100 yards from the house.
Yeah, off in the tree line up in the woods, and it's a nice hill.
Yeah. So that was her favorite place to play with her balls and her toys and the hula hoops and whatever she had. I'm just throwing it out there. And so she passed away, and Mr. Chastain took her to her favorite place to be buried, which is up on the hill. So she was the first grave up on that hill.
Yeah, and that in turn became the family and extended family burial space for them. And it's a really cool little place up on the hill. Several graves are up there. It's tucked away. No one really knows about it unless you are told about it.
Or unless we bring you up there.
Yeah, and it's quite a hike up there. It's not a long hike, but it's a strenuous.
Yeah, it's more the walk up the hill until you get to the flat.
Yeah, it is, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's such a good place.
Yeah.
There's some sadness to it, but it's a great place.
So as far as the doctor goes in the house, everybody talks about the evil doctor. Well, there was a doctor in the house. Mr. Chastain was a very wealthy man back in 1850s or
and
so.
60s.
And 60s. He was worth $10,000, which is probably equivalent to millions of dollars now. And Mr. Chastain owned his own shipping company or something to that effect. He did several things, but he did own... Okay, so
1885.
I'm just throwing that out there, Darren. And we don't know what she died from. We can't see her death record for some reason.
Yeah, we can't find
it
yet, but we will.
Yeah, and it's not over yet. We actually have to go down to Fannin County Records and actually pull it and have pay for it in the whole nine because we can't find it online.
No,
some things we can, but not everything.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he had a lot going on, and he did a lot for the community.
Yeah, and Native Americans too. He did a lot for them.
Absolutely.
He donated steer, oxen, horses, and everything for the people that were traveling on the Trail of Tears.
Yep. So he
appreciate that, Darren.
He did care.
Yeah, he cared about a lot of people.
And there's no record of any beguiling of a witch. Which is it's a whole different story.
That's another legend.
Yeah, another legend for another day. That's right. But from all accounts, they, lived well and happily, and we had some losses as families will, and were good to their community, and we're a good family. Yeah. So, I think the real story is more interesting than all this craziness.
Yeah. So, time goes on again. I'm giving you the quick version. Junius also, Alice's brother, did contract tuberculosis, which the doctor would have taken care of Junius at one point. Marianne died at the age of 76 or something like that. Mr. Chastain died at 82.
There was rumor that there was a little girl named Sarah there. Actually, there was one of their children named Sarah who died at 86.
At 86, yeah.
Of exsanguination.
A lot of the people that did die there grew to be in their 80s, 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm. Which is even, back then that was considered a long life. Which so they were for the most part healthy people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We
don't know much about Martha or Stella.
No. Listen, you remember names: Martha and Stella, Junius, William,
Alice.
Was
there Joseph?
Joseph.
There was a Joseph.
Mm-hmm. Sarah.
What was that name I make fun of all the time?
Wasn't that? That's Junius's middle name, isn't it?
I don't remember, but it's. I don't want to be stereotypical here, but it sounds like an African American name.
Havana?
No. I don't know.
We'll look them up.
It's just a weird name that you don't hear from that era. You know what I mean?
No.
It's more like a modern name.
Yeah, their names were interesting. Their middle names of their children were really interesting.
Yeah, it was Alice, Havana, Chastain, Havana.
Yeah, just really interesting. But this the moral of the story is when you do research and do your homework, it really, it can take a place and make it completely different.
Well, that's cool to know. Thank you, Darren. First case of tuberculosis.
1720.
So Alice, probably most likely what she died of.
That's so sad. That just makes me sad. I have I'm partial to Alice. I'm very partial to her. And sometimes just thinking of her little life and how short it was it's sad. Which is another thing, you know. I mean, I don't know, would you guys say that was a good thing or a bad thing when you go into a situation knowing the actual history? I mean, do you think would skew your ability to investigate properly if you knew going in that it was something sad?
Right.
I mean,
so we got a call one night from the caretaker, and he's like, the judge's friend Andy's going to be down here. He's a paranormal investigator. He's the chief of the sheriff department in Helen. Why don't you come down here and talk to him? So Cindy and I threw our best on real quick because we're going to go talk to the chief of police, you know. Got to look good, right? So we go down there in our weekend best, and we go in there and we talk to him. So kind of at first he was a little taken back because he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
So Cindy's like, can I just talk to them for a few minutes? And he's like the look of talk to who at first, you know, and then he's like, oh yeah, come in. So anyways, I got a chance to talk to Andy. What a great guy. He knew a little bit of history. He knew it wasn't a bad place.
Yeah.
So when I started telling him the history, he's like, holy cow, I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. And I'm not knocking him or anything, and not saying, he's a cop, he should have known better.
No.
But, I mean, not a lot of people know the right story.
No, and you really have to kind of dig for it.
So she wanted to go talk to Alice.
It was important.
And I wanted to talk to Andy because I wanted him to know. So what I basically did was I armed him with knowledge.
Yeah, which is an amazing thing.
And now he knew. He's like, wow, I didn't know that. He goes, now I know how. Now I can take different avenues now that I know this. So, and I wanted to share it with him because the interesting thing with investigating this house is when I tell the right story, we get activity.
Yes, we do.
And when people go in there and start telling the wrong story, and I'll give you an example. When Andy first started investigating there, he said to me, I made a mistake. I said, what mistake was that? He goes, I told him they sucked his ghosts. He goes, John, I'm not kidding. The entire house screamed.
Yeah, it shook.
He goes, it shook, it screamed. My entire team ran out and left me to get all of the equipment. I say, get out of here. He's like, John, I'm not kidding. He goes, we recorded it. I say, oh, you did? He goes, yeah, but you want to know something weird? I said, what? He goes, we couldn't hear it.
Couldn't hear the scream on the recording.
Everybody on the recording responded to it, but the equipment did not pick it up. Not the video camera, not the voice recorder, nothing.
Well, again, approach.
Yeah. So he actually stopped investigating for about 11 months, and I finally got up the gall to come back down and start doing it again. He comes down to the Chastain house quite a bit. He's a really great guy.
Yes,
Andy, if you're listening right now, dude, I love you.
And your family.
And your family's great.
So awesome.
He was a really nice guy, you know, and so him and I got to talking and everything else. It was pretty cool. But what I'm getting at, people, is if you're going to go and investigate somewhere, I would suggest, you don't have to, and it's just my opinion, learn the place, do your research, you know what I mean? Like, we'll give another example, Matt. He goes to Wilson Castle an awful lot.
Right.
And I'm sure Matt knows the history of that place very well. If I think I know Matt the way I know him, he knows that history very well. You got to arm yourself with knowledge. Knowledge is power.
It is. I mean, I believe so. Do you think that the more that you investigate a place, the better you get at investigating it? Would you say? Would you say that you're more effective at investigating than when you know the place better?
Well, yeah, I would think that the more you investigate it and the more you know about the place, the better it is for you, because that way it's like knowing your best friend. You know how to approach them when you need to tell them something or ask them something. You know how they're going to react. So therefore, if you know the history of a place and you're trying to get activity or whatever it is you're trying to do, I think knowing that, it will help you in the long run.
I know. I feel like it's helped us.
I mean, for all these psychics and mediums, and we're going to get to that in just 1 second. Going in cold, I guess, is okay. But if like Darren said, some people like to go in cold. That's okay. And I'm going to repeat myself on this one. That's fine. You want to go in cold? That's fine. But be prepared for somebody to tell you the history.
Well, I mean, I can see, like you said, if you're a psychic.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Or, I mean, because I don't even like to do that whole label-y thing. You know me. If you're sensitive, then in whatever capacity, going in cold, yeah, because you don't want to have to, explain yourself to other people. You know what I'm saying? Okay, for evidence. But again, if you're going in cold, what are you proving?
I don't know.
Are you proving to the people around you that you're a legitimate psychic?
Well, I mean, if you're a paranormal investigator and have any kind of years in this thing, no, you're not proving anything.
But that's what I'm saying. I feel
you're
like
proving that you're proving that you're good at guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking psychics. Like
neither am I.
I'm not knocking psychics or people that are sensitive. But the reason you go in cold is because you want to be able to talk to other people around you and say, this is what I'm picking up from this place, right? So you go in because you want to be like,
right,
okay, this happened here, that happened there, right? So, but what's the purpose of that?
Right. So I understand what Darren's saying. Some people go in cold and then do the history later.
How does that?
I don't know how that works.
Well, I mean, I'm just wondering.
I mean, to some people it makes sense. To me personally, it does not.
Yeah, but that's what I'm asking, Darren. I mean, like, what is the?
Yeah, he says guess is right.
What is the purpose behind going in cold?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. What is the purpose?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, I think I know kind of the obvious purpose, but that's what I'm trying to get at. I don't to me, you go in cold so that you can go in and read the place and say, this happened here, that happened there, and other people can verify it, right? So other people are like, you're right, this happened here. You're right, that person's name was this, that person's name was that. Okay, to see if they have a gift, maybe. All right, well, here, and this is
Fair enough.
This is my point I'm trying to make with that.
Okay.
And not a bad thing, okay, to see if the gift is, they have a gift. But is that what we're investigating places for?
I don't know.
Because
I'm not.
How does that become effective in an investigation?
I don't know.
Like, if you're just trying to prove, hey, I'm actually a psychic, to me, that doesn't give you any, that doesn't help in a situation where you're investigating. I mean, yeah, I get, okay, well, if they actually have the gift, they can read and tell us what the spirits are saying. But again...
Well, this brings me to a point. Now, again, not knocking psychics. This is my own conclusion, my own opinion, whatever it is. Get mad at me, I don't care. But a psychic has gone in there, a very well-known one.
Yes, that we will not speak.
We won't speak names, but a very well-known one, television.
Extremely well-known.
Extremely well-known. Okay, has gone in there, told the caretaker things that are 100% wrong.
Yes.
Absolute. Now, I've heard from psychics before, we're not right all the time. I get it. But don't go telling somebody if you're not sure.
Well, that can completely...
I mean, that sounds kind of ignorant when I said that, doesn't it? Don't tell them if you're not sure. That sounds ignorant, don't it?
Well, I mean, I think it's obvious. And like, again, I'm saying, I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking anything to do with that. I'm just saying, if we're going into an investigation to help someone or to find out what's going on, or to find out, who's still there.
Right.
I'm not sure how effective it is.
There were so many times during the investigation at the Chastain house, we've had a little girl ask us for help.
Yes.
We've had a grown-ass man, spirits now, ask us for help.
We have.
The missus of the house ask us for help. So we just couldn't let it go. We had to figure out what's going on here.
We did. And you're right, Darren. Like we're saying, we agree with that.
So we decided to do the history, and then one day we just kept finding out one thing after another, and we're like, oh my God, I get it now. They just want the right story.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
It unfolded so...
Oh my God.
It was so crazy how this unfolded. Just completely. It was amazing. It was amazing, and it was like, this is not coincidental. You can't... Just by finding out fact, everything unfolded.
Right.
And it was just amazing. And we were excited. Of course we were excited. Who wouldn't be?
So we started bringing people into the house, doing like little free tours. Here you go. Just to give the caretaker, a break.
Yeah.
So we'd set up a couple flashlights. We've had other gear out that, is sensitive to, listening and all this other kind of crap. EVPs, up the wazoodle, voice boxes going off, communicating with us every time we go in there and we tell the good story, as I call it.
Yeah.
The good story. The flashlights are going off, on and off, clean on and clean off, not just dimming out. I'm talking on and then off.
2 separate ones.
Yes. On command. The little box that we have, whatever the hell it's called, is saying things that coincide with the house.
And with the Estes method all at one time.
Yeah, and with the Estes method. It's ridiculous.
3 separate ways for them to communicate, and they're doing it all at the same time,
and we're
it
running
all lines
them all
up
at the same time.
And it all lines up. So last night in particular,
good,
was absolutely amazing. Now,
but tell them about Alice and how she is at first, so people can understand.
Okay. So we are in the house quite a bit. And there are certain things that we use and certain things we don't, because there are certain things at this point that we have learned are effective and certain things that are not effective at all, because bottom line is they just don't like it. And there are some things they do.
And they've told us both ways.
Absolutely. This is not something we're guessing at. This is something that we have got evidence, because we've got EVPs of this stuff or spirit box sessions with this being said. So Alice, little sweet Alice, she is very shy. It's taken me quite a while to get her to get her to not just open up to us, to me in particular, but to even get her to respond when other people are around, because a lot of times, even when the caretaker comes in, and even John, she would just not communicate. And when I would sit out inside by myself, and she would just be going nuts with the little flashlights and, and speaking in the box and everything. And then they would come in and she would just get really quiet. Everything would just...
the flashlight would stay on and it wouldn't do anything.
And so it's taken me this long to get her to open up.
Only the one flashlight in particular. The other one, she wouldn't even touch it at first.
No, not at first.
Just one specific flashlight.
And she would do it on command. I would go in and not really even ask her questions. I'd say, let's just play the game. So I worked with that. We worked with them. Found out more and more. And she's still really super shy.
Even to this day with me.
Yes, she is. And with men in particular, she's very shy. Now, I can walk in, set that flashlight up, and I can get her going almost immediately. But, guys, people come in. Even people, new people come in, and she will not do it. She just won't. She's just shy. She's nervous. I'll kind of coax her into it. Sometimes, yes, sometimes no.
Yeah.
Well, so last night we were, just hanging out. A group of kids came out, 2 different groups actually. But John decided to let them in all together. And before he walks in the door, I get on my box, I get Stop John. And I was like, okay. And at this point, we've done it long enough. I'm like, okay, they're not really.
There's something that they don't like.
They're not excited about somebody coming in right now. So, I'm like, it's okay. It's all right. They're not going to be in here long. I try to really be careful, talk to them and get them comfortable. So they come in, and John's giving them a little tour, talking to them. We're upstairs at that time. And the box says leave. So I'm like, okay, they're really not into this.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's okay. And we're still getting Alice to interact with a flashlight. But as the people are coming up the stairs, it quits. So there's no flashlight going on.
I mean, just legit stops.
Yeah. And,
legit.
And so he immediately goes around and takes the people to the front of the house where there's a big, huge porch, top and bottom. And he opens the door to take them outside to the porch. And my box says Anthony. And I'm like, I look at my daughter, I'm like, I wonder if one of the kids is named Anthony. And she's like, maybe it's a spirit. And I'm like, well, maybe it is. Who knows? But the flashlight was on again because they had left. So a few minutes after they're on the porch, we get some different stuff. We're still a little negative, angry. They didn't like what was going on. So two of the kids come down the steps, go back out and go outside.
Which I have a story about that in a minute.
Yep. And it says leave, whatever. So the other group of kids comes walking toward the room, and they're talking, and the flashlight immediately starts flickering. It starts going on and off. And I'm like, well, it's responding. Look, this is what Alice does. And John was talking about it. And then one of the kids turns to the other one and was like, hey, Anthony. And I'm like, whoa. I stopped. I walked over to them. I was like, what did you just say?
And he's like, well, it's my birthday. And she's like, no. What did you do? What's your name?
And then the box says happy.
Yeah. No, that was the spirit box.
Spirit box.
method.
Yeah. And but ours did too.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, it did. And he's like, I was like, what is your name? Ethan. What's your name? Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony was his name.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's like, no. I'm like, she just said your name a few minutes ago when you walked down on the porch. She's like, no. I was like, yes. So to shorten it up, this young man who, he was just totally amazed. He said he was open-minded. Nothing about the house. He said he's open-minded, but not a believer. He comes in and sits down on the floor, and I never told him that's what I did. I was standing up. He sat down on the floor, which is exactly what I do when I talk to Alice.
Yeah.
He sat in front of that flashlight, and it went off. And he started speaking, and this flashlight just starts to go crazy, responding to him. So I decided to get both flashlights and sit him down. And he spent a good hour doing that. And we got evidence. We got the flashlights going off. John decided to do the Estes method with the spirit box. We were getting friend and happy and things like that. And in my other box we were using, all of these things were just, everything
the same thing.
Exactly the same.
At the same time.
For some reason, Alice was just taken with this young man.
She really did like Anthony.
And I've never seen that. I mean, as long as we've been going, I've never seen her respond that way. So, just that's a little overview. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing we get.
Yeah.
We know the history. We can share it, and this kind of stuff happens. It's amazing.
Darren says, I like to have a trusted psychic with me on an investigation to let me know if it's safe to go in a certain room. Darren, I'm going to be really honest with you, whether that trusted psychic is with me or not and tells me it's safe or not, I'm still going in. Still going in because I'm really not afraid.
No, but you know what?
Yes, we have.
Yes. Oh yeah, we've done that. We definitely did that. And she's finally started to respond with the different colors as well.
Even bigger flashlights.
Yes. But we're trying different things. We're trying to work her up because she's, like I said, she's pretty shy.
Yeah, well, she is the resident speaker of the house, though. So she
definitely is a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Who likes to play. Yeah. Now, another time when we were there during the day, we're not really doing anything. John was using the spirit box. The reason we always use the Estes method in the house, by the way,
Yes, go ahead, explain that one.
is because they do not like the noise
Yeah.
at all.
You want me to make ghosts go away? All I got to do is turn it on with
And-
no headphones,
yeah.
and the house will cease.
They have so much just told us that. Stop it. Don't. You know, they don't like it. So,
They told us noisy, loud,
yeah, they don't like it.
annoying. They told us
Yes.
they don't like it. Through EVPs, mind you, not
Yes,
just Ovilus or anything like
No,
that.
EVPs.
EVPs,
They don't
told
like
us
it.
they don't like it.
And I mean, I kind of get sensitive at sometimes. So I could tell because it's like it irritated them, and I felt irritated. And I was like, "You have to turn it off." I was like, it's not good." And they respond very much more with when it's not sounding. So the Estes method is what John uses, and we were there during the day not long ago, and
Thanks, Darren.
John was in another room, and we were in one room together, and I was asking him questions, and then I just kind of get up and wander around while he's in there, just, whatever he hears, he sounds off. And so I'm like, okay. And he says, outside. And
When was this?
I was running my box too. And my box is outside.
When the two boys came in the house during
Yes.
the day, it said leave.
Yeah, it did tell them to
And then
leave.
She asked, "Do you want us to leave?" And I responded, "No."
Yeah.
So it didn't want us to leave.
No, it wanted them to leave. So it said outside, and when it said outside, I started to walk out of the room and out the front door. And then when I got to this other room, it says bedroom. Now, I had recently seen a flash of this room with a bed in it, and I described it in detail. It was bright, airy, and this really beautiful, like twin-size bed, but, So that was the room I was going past, and it says bedroom, John did. So I stopped immediately, and I walk in that room, and I'm just standing in the middle of the room, and all of a sudden I get George. Just
George was El's
in my
cousin.
head, yeah, and we didn't know any of this, okay? This was before
time, yeah.
This was before any of that. And it says George, and I immediately spin around, and I'm standing there, and I get these mental, things. And it says, after it says George, I get a vision of an adult man standing in front of me. And I said, "Hello, George." And then John from the other room says, "Hi," doing the Estes method. And I said, "Well, it's good to meet you, George. I'm Cindy." And I said, "How are you?" And John says, something, I can't remember, but then it goes on, and I asked him, I said, "George, did you know the Chastains?" And he says, John from the other room says, I reckon. And it was like, all of this, it was amazing. And then after we do the research, we find out that, in fact, Marianne, Mrs. Chastain, her brother, who was her slave but brother, his son's name was George.
Yeah.
And they used to come and visit her when she was ailing, before she died. So I was blown away that this George, it's when the history, it lines up when things like this happen. So the evidence we've gotten at the house, the things that we've had happen because, we know sort of how to approach it. I think we've had a better result.
Yes, we
because
definitely
of that.
have.
So, history, it's important.
Yeah,
Research,
so
important.
going back and kind of repeating myself like I normally do. Do your research. You get more bees with honey. I've been saying that a lot.
Yes.
And, what am I trying to say? The reaction that we get from the house when we do that is just unbelievable. So
It's really great. Darren, that is awesome, Darren. You know what? It's something I've never done, and I am chomping at the bit to go and to investigate an asylum. I have not done it yet, and that is on my bucket list. I'm really it's something that I want to do. Yeah, I've actually heard of Sheboygan. So,
Really?
lucky you.
Really?
Because I'm excited about that
Both
for
is.
you. So that's how you got your team started. That's pretty cool. That's something I have.
Sheboygan.
Yes, Sheboygan. I don't know. Like, there's so much more that I want to do that we're looking into it. The great thing about it here, it's a positive, and it's also could be a negative, because there's not a lot of places out here that are well known that we can investigate, but there are so many local places that don't
I'm not
get
trying to be
investigated.
ignorant, but where is that?
Sheboygan
Yeah.
is in Sheboygan. Is in
Okay, I don't know.
is it Michigan?
Ohio?
Come on, Darren.
Come on, Darren, help us out there, buddy.
I'm down south now.
Yeah.
You ought to know this stuff.
I come from
Or
Massachusetts.
Shane, Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the only, Wisconsin. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's what you-
I'm from
that's
Mass. The only thing we know how to do is swear a lot.
Well, if we can find an asylum, we must go.
Well, yeah, there are some hospitals around here and stuff, so.
But I definitely want it to be one that has not been investigated
Well,
very much.
You can't guarantee that.
very much. Just,
I can't guarantee that.
yeah. Well, I mean, not a whole lot then. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And, we're not far from Tennessee, North Carolina. So if any of you guys have any recommendations on places, Tennessee and North Carolina, we need to know those places. So the episodes on tonight, we'll have to watch that, Darren.
So,
We'll
long
figure that
story
out.
short, moral of the show, do your research on the location. Do your history. Learn about it. Don't just assume.
It's helpful.
Yes.
In our opinion, I think it's helpful.
And if you need help, I'm more than happy to help
you,
you
Shay.
and tell you the steps at least that I go through. Shay could probably help you. Darren could probably help you if you know them, and they can probably. Everybody has their own technique about going through it, and I mean, I'm pretty much in the end, it's all the same. But some people use strictly the internet. I don't. I use the internet, but I go until I find that weak link in the armor that's different. I look at county records. I go to town halls. I go to courthouses and pull records and everything else.
Oh, see, South Pittsburgh Tenant Hospital. We'll have to look that up, Darren.
It's been done a million times.
Has it? Wow.
Yeah, there's a team up there runs it, and I'm not trying to knock anybody. I mean, unless you're putting the money to good cause, a lot of these ghost hunts are ridiculously priced.
Expensive.
All beyond.
But we can do that without paying
Yeah, we can.
all the time. And that's one of the pluses about being out here, because once you get it going, the local folks will come up to you.
Yeah.
And that is an invaluable source.
And the funny thing is we've been there so much, and people have come in with us, and we've given them the look of the house, that people are going, hey, I heard this and that, and yep, that's us.
Yeah, that's us. I don't know. That's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
But in about, an hour or so, we're going to be on the Cryptid Files.
Yes, and you just read my mind. You took it right out of my mind, because we're separating our stuff, guys.
Yes.
So if you want to hear about our paranormal
You're going to
stuff,
hear about it here.
you come here. And if you want to hear about our other stuff, our
You go
cryptid
there.
stuff, you go there. We have our plates full.
Sheboygan is 2,000 for the week.
Shoot! Holy
That's
moly!
probably just one person.
No, thank you. They better be feeding me.
Right?
Yes.
They probably do.
They better. For
better.
that, I don't want a steak. Good God. And some lobster, whatever. But, so, we have our plates are full.
Yeah.
Like, in the morning, we could be out hiking
Yeah.
and listening for,
Bigfoot.
looking for sign. And then at night, we can be over at the house or flipping, flopping. We could be in the woods at night, which John loves. That's his favorite.
No, I hate it.
He loves it.
If
Don't
you watch
let him fool
Facebook Lives, I absolutely hate it. I'm such a wuss.
Anything cryptid.
Yeah.
It's great.
There's nothing about a 7 foot tall, 680 pound monster that I like.
And see, I'm just the
That
opposite.
can slap you in the head and kill you. And flick you with one finger and your
He's
arm
not
can come
gonna
flying
flick
off.
you. He's not gonna flick you. But if you want to hear about that, it's over on the other. We're gonna do that here in a little
Yeah,
bit.
20 people, right.
That's crazy. That's still a
All
lot
right.
of money.
We will catch you guys in about an hour or so on the
Yep.
Cryptid Files.
So go over there and you'll hear our other stuff. But this
tonight.
is our paranormal
Yeah,
stuff.
tonight we're talking about the Chupacabra.
Sort of.
I don't know how long that show is going to go, but
We're only doing this one to get it out of the way because I got to get this
people
one out of
have
the way.
asked. People have asked, so we figured we'd do it.
It is not my favorite.
No. It's probably going to be just as good as the Rake and the Slenderman.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about other stuff too.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, thank you guys for joining us.
And we will see you soon.
And remember, don't forget to share your stance on the paranormal. Good night, guys.
Bye.